It is by the real that we live. It is by the ideal that we exist. In the mid-2060s, a project was formulated codenamed Project Nexus. It was a highly experimental procedure involving an injection of a serum named Nexus blood to a group of 1,286 subjects. This altered their DNA to have increased lifespans and better immunity against diseases. It was also passed down through bloodline. Nexus blood was later made illegal because of how highly addictive it made the subject to time. These people were seen differently, treated as wild animals and less than human. In 2074, the Nexus Wars began, leading to the eradication of nearly all those with Nexus blood and their bloodline. When the war ended in 2100, those remaining with Nexus blood were forced into hiding and pushed into a small ghetto on the outskirts outside the city. They are known as Nexites. After the Nexus Wars, famine ravaged the land as humans fought amongst one another for survival. In 2154, the new CEO of Platinum Corp took over and overhauled the corporation, allowing them to explode in size due to the implementation and law of the countdown system, as well as new ways of survivability. The CEO contracted a specialized combat group to hunt down and eradicate the remaining Nexites within the city. They are known as ghosts. Breathing heavily, they once again felt their stomach and throat burn as their arms started to go numb, heaving as they sweat profusely. A large amount of vomit covered the inside of a toilet in a strange light blue color and glow, almost appearing radioactive. Another kick to the stomach, their vision blurred as they gasped for air, sweat dripping off their face. They coughed more out, spitting it. More heavy breaths as they turned their head to see the blurred writing on the stall. Blinking a few times, they lifted their head, trying to sit up. Once they did, they immediately felt more sharp pain in their neck. As if they were on a restless bed, they turned around to throw up more glowing baby blue liquid. Their stomach was on fire, and their body in pain as if 1,000 knives were piercing them at every angle. Once they finished, they sat back against the stall door and heard a small creaking noise. The silence of the minimalist, monotone bathroom felt deafening. The blue liquid intermixed with spit dripped down from their mouth. It trailed down the chin with a faint blue glow. They had a blank stare at the wall, their vision blurring in and out. The creaking was followed by footsteps, catching them off guard, knocking them out of their trance. Shiny metal coated the ceiling in a gorgeous adornment, the ice-cold marble floor accented only by the marble sinks, complemented by the black stalls. The mirrors were separated by an abstract design, all clean. In the midst of the silence, they could hear the faint whirring noise of the ventilation. It was slightly chilly in the cold, isolated room. The footsteps slowed down to a stop, as a gentle but familiar voice spoke up. "Lucas?" They heard the voice cleanly, but didn't react to it. One arm was propped up on one knee while the other leg was kicked out away from the vomit. The other arm went limp to their side. Lucas's heavy breathing slowed down to a calm. They slowly panned their head up to the ceiling and thought to themselves, "Lucas? That's right. I am Lucas. Where am I?" They paused, staring blankly at the rattling vent above. Oh, that's right. I had to take that fucked drug again. Their breathing got heavier. I really hate that thing. Amidst the noise in Lucas's head, the familiar and gentle voice chimed in again. "Sir, there is 5 minutes until the meeting begins." Lucas slowly got up, slightly stumbling. The man heard the noise but did not react. The bright LED lights were set to give off a warm tone, but only seemed to make things feel more desolate. There was a click and the door swung inward slowly. They walked out, holding their mask in hand and glasses in the other. There was blue liquid still running down their mouth and chin. Lucas took one glance at the man, still dizzy and blurred. He was wearing a simple business suit, but looks were deceiving. Inside the suit contained hidden tentacles ready to be used at his disposal. His hair was an undercut, with one side being a buzz cut. There were circuits running down his face as one of his eyes twitched. It was clear that one of the eyes was a mod, but it was hard to tell what other mods he had given his secrecy. The floor was coated in a light gloss, giving the slightest of reflections. Lucas looked in the mirror. Their thick, dark shirt was adorned by a bulletproof vest. Pockets laced it. The bright blonde hair, almost white under some lights, whisked about. It was a short, neat cut with long hair on the top parting the tufts. There was a soft but cold appearance. In the mirror, Lucas could see the blue liquid still dripping. They wiped it silently and looked down. Their pants were straight, neat, slightly baggy, and formal, yet tactical and mobile. It was sewn together masterfully to give off an official but deadly look. Adorned with it were combat boots laced tightly. Complementing the boots were black gloves, slightly tattered. They saw the mask. It was just the front part. Made of metal, carbon fiber, and silver, the mask appeared like a gas mask with one chamber on each side. It hooked up to cover the nose as well. The center of it had a triangle shape with lines in the middle, almost like a filter. Each end on each side connected to the device wrapped around the back of Lucas's neck. The connectors fit snugly below the ears. They stared at the cold mask for a few seconds before putting it on. There was a slight air whoosh as the mask snapped into the connectors. Lucas turned around to their right and looked up. An odd flickering was happening in the corner of the room as one of the lights appeared close to burning out. It wasn't visible before, but it gave the bathroom an even more isolating feeling. The immaculate gloss of the furnishings contrasted the unwelcoming cold air as the bathroom sat in dead silence. Turning around and looking at the man, Lucas put their round, thin, and circular glasses on as the lights reflected off of it. Suddenly, their posture straightened up and they took a deep breath in the mask. The sound was muffled but breathable. Quietly speaking in a strong, rich tone, modified by the mask to sound terrifying, Lucas spoke with an icy, deadpan stare. "Let's go." The Nexites were a curious group of people. Every aspect of them immediately showed they're human, yet despised by many. Despite all this, after living in their small, impoverished town named Paradise Falls, they still survived. This town was littered with filth as wild dogs and cats roamed the streets. All buildings were shoddily put together, using boards, bricks, and whatever flat metal they could find. Wires ran rampant across the roofs as metal pipes burst out a puff of dark smoke. Everything was put together hastily and without care, but somehow stood up solid. Neon lights scarcely glazed across Paradise Falls as they indicated major buildings, such as the town's trading post or weapons dealer. Dust and dirt coated much of the town, as there were no roads or pavement. It was nothing but uneven dirt that had an orange-brown hue to it. There wasn't a single tree alive as many branches stuck out like forks. It all looked sickly and desolate. Everything looked rustic and dusty. In the center of the town there was a large plaza where the residents would gather for meetings, rallies, performances, and events. A platform was lined up, barely holding itself together after many years, but well built. The wood was split at the ends, fraying even. Behind it stood the City Hall, the second largest building in Paradise Falls. Looming off in the distance was a spectacle. This light show of a city commanded everything. The Nexites could only see the lights above the walls, barely peeking over, glowing magnificently. The walls surrounding the town were fortified. Some even had military stationed at watchtowers. Crescentia looked like the real paradise, with the flashing lights, tall buildings, and high tech. Meanwhile, a wind blew across town, knocking down an overhang to a smaller trading post. It was a particularly starry night when clouds parted and the sparkles gleamed across the sky. The night sky was beautiful as the fresh air danced around the town, breathing life into the next sights. A short-haired man with dark skin stood out on his balcony and just gazed into the sky while a group gathered at the plaza. There was a scent of maple that swept a small area of homes as one mother decided to give her children a little treat of maple syrup with their small, single pancake each. She held up the paper plates in her tattered dress as one child giggled happily holding onto her mother's leg. Walking towards the table, the 3 children sat down smiling and laughing as the mother put the plate down. She gave off a weak smile as she mustered up all the happiness that she could. Her arm glowed with the timer on it. The daughter noticed it and stared at the time. 7:24. It ticked down. The light dangling above them with a dim bulb started to flicker shortly. The mother pulled her arm away, hiding it as she went to each child and gently kissed them on the head. When she pulled back, she shivered slightly, feeling cold. When the children finished, the mother pulled the oldest one aside, a young teen around 15 years of age, and whispered something to his ear. She then handed him a note as he nodded and hugged her. The younger 2 watched, then turned around washing the dishes to the best of their ability. It was a calm night, one where people felt free to walk out and enjoy their time with others. The streets were barely lit up, leaving the signs to direct people. "Stop fucking around, we have a job to do." A hushed voice rang in the alleyways, where 2 dark figures were sneaking about. One was a taller, well-built figure who wore a long coat, open down the middle with a hoodie up. His voice was hushed, but masculine and rough. "Is all this sneaking really worth it, Vale?" The other figure was climbing a ladder. She had chin-length hair, but was picked up and tied. Her clothes were dark even during the night. Something about her gave off that she could easily blend into a crowd. The man stayed down below, keeping watch. Vale whispered to herself as she eyed the open window across from her. "If my timing's right, that couple should be out today at the concert. Okay, it's not that far." Holding onto the ladder, she turned her body around and fixated her gaze upon the window. The alleyway was so dark that the 2 perfectly blended into the darkness. As she breathed, keeping steady, the ladder made a slight creaking noise. However, before it could creak further, she leapt across with full force. Reaching out, Vale barely managed to grab the ledge and hang on. She grunted as she made clanging noises. The man below her told her to keep quiet. One woman walked past the alley and heard the noise. She started to turn towards it, but her friend pulled her away, saying it was a cat or dog. Vale regained her composure and climbed inside. "I'll be quick, Eden." He gave a thumbs up as he leaned against the wall, looking around and surveying. The house was dark and barely held together. Each step Vale took, no matter how light, caused the floorboards to creak and some to crack. It was so silent that Vale could hear the chatter of outside people walking about. Her hushed breathing was blending into the silence. Another step, looking around as her eyes adjusted to the dark. There was a bed hastily put together with a torn and used mattress. There were no sheets or covers, and the wood frame was full of splinters. "What the hell? It should be in this room," Vale whispered to herself. She took another few steps forward towards the half-broken dresser and opened up the top drawer. Smiling devilishly, she whispered as she picked up the unopened bottle of red wine. It looked expensive and out of place in Paradise Falls. Vale looked in the drawer again, bottle in hand, and found a second one hidden under some clothes. She smiled, looked at the 2 bottles, and closed the drawer, leaving it the way it was. Quickly rushing to the window, the floors creaked and cracked louder than ever. Climbing onto the window ledge, both bottles in hand, she called out to Eden below. He looked up and readied his hands. Carefully aiming, she dropped one bottle and Eden caught it with ease. Vale jumped to the ladder once again without hesitation, and it caused a crashing sound. By sheer luck, however, there were no people walking past. Vale signaled for Eden to follow her by jerking her head up. Both of them began to climb and reach the rooftops. They climbed for a little while as the building shook a little from the wind. It was not the tallest building, but it did provide a fantastic view of Paradise Falls and Crescentia in the distance. Vale hopped onto the roof, helping Eden up with her free hand. She took a deep breath and she looked around. Eden walked past her and sat down on the edge of the roof overlooking the city. Crescentia lit up the horizon like a rave. Advertisements, billboards, neon signs, bright lights. Yet a dark, packed, and gloomy atmosphere. Vale sat down next to Eden as they both popped the corks of the wine bottles. I wonder what it's like there. Eden perked up after taking a swig. Probably depressing as fuck, I'd imagine. My mom told me stories about how fucked up the war was, how I, or any of us for that matter, should not be fooled by those lights and promises. Yeah, that would suck. Eden laughed as Vale drank again. Yet, I feel like I belong there. Like, my life is there. Give me a break. A next site thriving in Crescentia? Next you're gonna tell me a meteor's gonna hit us tomorrow. Eden laughed as Vale giggled. I'm serious though. Imagine just waking up in a warm bed, rich and well fed. They got everything there. There is one thing they don't have though. Yeah? What's that? Eden looked up and pointed with his open hand to the beautiful, starry sky. The moon shone brightly amongst all the numerous stars. It was dazzling and a sight to behold. Amen. Vale took a deep breath, clinked her bottle with Eden's, and drank as they looked to the stars in this quiet night.